The storytelling aspect of building a freelancing business is one of the most, if not the most important part of it. And that's the part that people struggle with the most because
Mhm.
it's part of it's crafting it around your identity in a way that feels true to you, that you can stand behind, that you can communicate in different ways, that is
Mhm.
consistent across the board, and that doesn't fluctuate when your mood is changing or when your circumstances are changing. And just because you're introducing a different type of service that you're offering, it doesn't change the underlying messaging that you are giving, because that's who you are, that's your values, your branding.
Yeah.
And so I was just having a conversation with one of our current students this morning, and he was struggling to align himself with identifying with being a medical writer, because he's right at the beginning of that journey.
Mm.
And I was able to kind of say to him, well, look, he's a nurse and he's transitioning out of nursing into medical writing. And he was like, I don't really know how, like, just because I've interacted with patients and healthcare professionals, I don't know that makes me a good writer, but that's what I need
Mhm.
to say in my bio and in the way that I present. So I was able to explain to him like specific scenarios where, you know, if a client is coming to you and they're representing this particular product and they need to market that product or communicate, the benefit of that to whoever's going to be using it or prescribing it, you actually know that target market really well because you've interacted with them, and you know what questions they're going to have, if they're going to understand it, if they're going to accept it, if they're going to have questions about it. And so, that is so, so valuable because they don't
Mhm.
have that. They don't know their market as well as you do. And so I could see, like, he was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Like, that makes so much sense. And it wasn't until I got into the granular, like, tell me when someone has asked you to convey something to them that they haven't understood that made a big difference for them. And then suddenly he's like, oh, there's like thousands of examples, like all the time. Like, people don't know why they're having a treatment or why they're having
Mhm.
a surgery or whatever it might be. And I'm the one that conveys that to them. And so it's connecting those dots between, like, oh, I am a communicator, and these are the signs that point me towards that being true.
Mhm.
And so I guess, like, when someone's thinking about their personality and, like, trying to map that onto the business that they're building, are there any kind of, like, questions that they can ask themselves, or like prompts that they can follow to kind of extract those key aspects of their personality and bring them to their marketing or to their messaging?
Yeah, absolutely. So I just finished off with a Hogan client um, through Prospology, and yeah, one of the things that really came from that was this idea of understanding why you want to do something and let that guide the way. Without paraphrasing Simon Sinek too much, because I don't know how litigious he is. But it's this idea of once you figure out why you're doing something, that will then inform how you do it and what you do. And it's very similar with the Hogan assessments, with the Hogan, the MVPI, looking at the inside, what do you actually want? And for this person, it was, very much altruism. I want to help. I want to make complex concepts in medical writing easy to digest for someone who may have just had part of their bowel removed, for example. Um, so connecting with the why will inform the rest.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's super important. You mentioned with the storytelling and conveying consistent message. The best way to be consistent is to be true to you. I've been listening to quite a lot of stoicism and kind of stoic ideas, philosophy, and there's a big idea that if you're not presenting your true self, you're actually in some way manipulating the other person because you want them to see you in a particular way, which is how you think they want to see you. And that's, there's no basis on that. It's purely based on, oh God, what do I think that they want to know, when actually the reason they're hiring you is because they like you. Anyone can do a job, skills can be trained, character can't be. But you can understand your character and leverage where you can, and being mindful of other aspects of your character that might hinder your success.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think when a lot of people think about picking a niche or having a niched approach to their marketing, it's more of a tactical thing. And it is a tactical thing in that, you need to be smart about how you're going about it and consistent in the actual language that you're using. But like you said, if that's not tied to who you are, you're going to keep tripping yourself up, or there's going to be inconsistencies and people are going to pick up on that. And if they don't, you're going to end up in a situation that is not aligned with who you are and what you want. Because if that why isn't behind everything that you're doing, you're going to find yourself on a completely different island to where you were trying to go. I was talking to another one of our students this morning, and she was saying, like, I'm thinking of adding editing to my services. And when she explained the reason behind that, it was really like coming from a place of insecurity, that I don't know that I have what it takes to be a really good writer, and I feel like editing might be easier. I feel like I might be able to break in a bit more easily if I'm doing editing versus writing. And I was listening to her and I was just thinking, like, no, this isn't you stepping into your power of being true to yourself and owning the things that you're great at. This is you trying to mold yourself into what you think people want you to be. And you're never gonna hold up against the people who genuinely are that. And you're also screwing yourself over by not being who you are and owning what you're really good at. So, we had this whole conversation around that, and what she really wants to be doing is kind of leaning into those areas that she does feel more confident in, and crafting her messaging around that and her services around that. And she does have very specific things that she can focus on when you're really looking at it through that lens of like, what am I drawn to? What do I enjoy? And I think people often assume that the things they find easier, other people find easier too, and therefore they're not as valuable for the client. And that's just complete BS as far as I'm concerned. Like, I find it very effortless to write patient focused materials because I just imagine I have a patient in front of me and I'm talking to them and I know how to communicate it. And that's a natural strength that I have. And not everybody does have that. Like, most people do not have that. And I've come to realize, just because for me that's an easier type of project does not mean I should be undercharging or undervaluing that offering. And it certainly doesn't mean that I need to broaden and do all these millions of other things because other people are doing that. And so, for other people, when they think about going into all of the data and the science and getting into all the numbers and statistics and everything, that's where they really shine, and they really, really love that. And they can do it so quickly, and they can do the fact checking and all of that side of things so easily. And they think, and they're undercharging for that because to them, that's just so easy. And like, everyone can do that. But to be able to step back and realize, like, no, these core aspects of myself and what I'm good at and what really makes me feel fulfilled is unique to me. This unique combination of traits that I have, that's where my branding is coming from. I think it's so powerful when you're able to do that. But I don't know, sometimes trying to do that on your own without that reflection, or something like Hogan as a tool to give you those parameters that you can look at and say, like, oh, I'm up here on this scale in this certain area, but down here I'm lower, and that makes sense. Not everyone is going to be like 100% on all of the scales. It's just not, humans, just not how we are.
Exactly. And I don't think we'd want to be. We'd be quite a handful, to say the least. And yeah, it's, if you're not doing what is right for you, if you're not building a niche, you mentioned this student who wanted to shift to editing. How would that affect their well-being?
Mm-hmm.
It's, if I'm having to change myself to fit a mold, then am I setting myself up to fail because
Mm-hmm.
I don't have autonomy anymore? I'm not living my real purpose anymore. I
Mm-hmm.
don't, and the big one, self-acceptance, like, I don't accept me for who I am. I'm going to shift myself to another cog in the machine, another medical writer who can do X, Y, and Z. There are a lot of medical writers, but there's only one you.